tools to kind of go out on your own touch. This program is helping a lot, I guess, clear up all the gray areas.
Good, good, okay. So, in my experience, I am a broker. And I can tell you, if you had asked me while I was in college what I wanted to be when I grew up and what I wanted to do for a living, it would have been that I wanted to be a tennis pro and travel the world like Roger Federer. I was a sociology major, so liberal arts interested me. So I was really more of that DNA. How many of you growing up got paid to make A's or rewarded for making good grades or good GPA? So I got paid for making C's. I was not a good student, right? It bored me to hear it sitting in a classroom, right? I'm not an air conditioning guy, right? And so that's my DNA, right? So am I sitting here telling you that when you can't succeed academically, you go be a broker? I can just tell you that it didn't rev my engine to sit in a classroom and memorize information and regurgitate it and get A's and get have all the degrees, right? So I'm a 7-semester college attendee non-graduate. I had a full ride to Clemson University. It was the #1 college team.
#1, yes.
Yeah.
I had a full ride to play tennis.
Today.
I went 7 semesters, 1 semester away from graduating. I was married. My wife was a professional tennis player, and we were married. And she got pregnant, and I had to take a semester off, come to Florida, teach tennis. I never went back. Never went back and finished that semester. Got that degree in sociology, which as you can imagine, from a business standpoint, it would have gotten me all kinds of great things. When in the old days, when you had a checking account, right, you had to be very disciplined about entering into your little register the checks that you spent, the deposits you made, and at the end of the month you get a bank statement and you'd reconcile it, right? Well, I couldn't do that. Didn't want to, so I could never get my bank balance to agree with the bank, right? So my solution was I just changed banks. And I could start over again, right? And it was clean, right? So you catching my DNA, what kind of drives me, what motivates me. It isn't the discipline of details or numbers or the academics. Fast forward the film, right? Over 30 years in the brokerage business, and now managing 160 people and a $25 million budget. You'd have to ask the company I work for, like, what are you thinking? This guy never graduated. He's not a mathematician, right? Now, remember back in algebra days when the train leaves Chicago at 12 and the other trains leave in New York at 5, traveling this way, what time are they going to meet? Well, I couldn't remember the formula, but I could tell you when they were going to meet because it's just kind of an intuition that I could figure it out. But I'm saying all of this because brokers are a unique breed. And the reason I'm asking them, why are you here and what are your aspirations? And I'm kind of trying to get a handle on what's your DNA and what drives you and what wires you to get excited about going to work, okay? Or aspiring to have a job in this real estate field. And I'm curious, what are the aspirations? Do you like playing it safe? And would you prefer to be a salaried employee where you know how much money you're going to make and you know the kind of things that you can afford and you can kind of predict your life that way? Or are you of the mentality that I'm going to remove that ceiling, right? And I want to be able to kind of blow through that ceiling and the excitement of making more money than what my employer wants to pay me, what my employer thinks my skill set is, right? And at the end of the day, isn't that really what's going on? If you sign up for a $75,000 a year job, you've sent a resume in and you've interviewed and you've convinced your employer, this is what I'm worth. This is all I'm worth, right? It's $75,000 and maybe I'll get an increase and maybe I'll get a bonus and maybe if I really perform well, they'll ship me to another division and I'll make $100,000 3 years from now. And then maybe 5 years from now, I'll make $150,000, right? Do you see where I'm going with all of this, right? So the broker mentality is, I don't want that ceiling, right? I'd rather have a bad year and make 25,000, and then have a great year and make 300,000. It's kind of a mystery, right? Part of my job every year, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it, my job is I got to sit down with 60 brokers in the state of Florida that work for me. And I have to ask them, what do you think you're going to make next year, right? Well, the transactions that I'm referring to next year haven't occurred yet. The client may not even be hired yet. So they're speculating based on history what they think they're going to make, right? So then I've got to pro form that. And if they say, I think I'm going to gross 500,000, that means the house, my company, is going to get 250,000, and they're going to get 250,000. They're not employees, they're independent contractors. Big difference. Nobody's telling them what time to go to work. Nobody's telling them when to take a break. Nobody's telling them they have to come to work. They're out there on their own. I give them a desk and a computer and a phone and some marketing expenses and some education if they're younger. But at the end of the day, they're independent contractors. They're on their own. And they're wearing a badge called Avis & Young, which presumably will get them into more doors and give them some credibility that they may not have as an individual. So I wanted to be in, I'm sorry, I keep
No, it's
keep
okay.
reading it.
It's related to the subject.
Yeah.
Because I work for salary, I'm a paralegal. My mom's a realtor, she does residential real estate. And there's always a battle between her and I because she's like, why do you want to work for someone else? Why, you they pay you an hour already. I'm on my own, I can wake up late, go to bed, you know what I mean? Like she's always telling me, because she comes from her background is her family they were business owners. And she's always, she has an administration degree, business administration degree. And her and my father have always been business owners. They've never worked for anybody in their life. They've always provided employment for other people. And when she sees that I'm not doing that, to her it's like, why not? And to me it's like, I need stability. Like I need to know that I'm gonna pay my bills. And so it's like, we're convincing each other basically all the time. But I see where she comes from. Even though she works almost 24 hours, because her phone rings, all the time. I mean, from 7 a.m. to like midnight, her clients are calling her, and she doesn't mind because that's her job. Her phone is, her business. So, and to me, it's like, why do you want to work after 8 o'clock? Like, why are you?
By the way, don't get me wrong as I stand up here and preach the benefits of the brokerage business. It's a very risky.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a very risky business, and it can be neurotic. Selling houses and selling commercial real estate are two different professions.
Right.
They're not related. It's like the difference between selling a copier and a car. Unrelated. A house and an office building, unrelated, right? One is about charm, one is about location and a pink bathroom. The other is about money, dollars and cents, right? So commercial real estate business is about dollars and cents. It's not about charm and emotional and my kids being able to go to school a mile away. So let me just kind of paint you the picture of my company. So the company that I'm working for now is called Avis & Young, and we have a philosophy, if you will, or a business plan, if you will, that we call 2x5x4. And the two represent the two types of clients that we work for. And the two different clients are the owner and the occupier. So what would be an example of an owner? An owner might be a developer who says, I love building office buildings, go find me a piece of dirt, let's put up the building, let's lease it up, let's manage it, sell it, and then we'll go do it again. An owner might be somebody who wants to invest, not develop, but just invest in existing buildings, right? The occupier is generally the tenant. Okay, so the tenant will come to us and say that I need 10,000 square feet in downtown Miami as a law firm, and go find me, my best economic deal as an occupier. So I'm painting the picture of two types of clients that we have, right? The 5 different services that we offer are leasing, sales, I'm going to abbreviate property management, financing, and valuation, which is appraisal. And I'm going to also slash consulting, which is a very similar type thing. So these 5 services, right, we offer to both of these players, okay? So if you are an owner and occupier, I can perform with my company all these different services throughout the state of Florida. Of course, we're originated in Canada, came into the U.S., and now we're in Germany and London, and we're trying to expand. So our competitor is CB, JLL, Cushman. So those are sort of the granddaddies, the big players in our market. We're right in there with them, okay? And then the 4 asset classes that we prefer to work in are the office, the retail, industrial, and multifamily. And when I say multifamily, I'm referring to rental apartments as opposed to the condominium and fee ownership spaces. So,
No hospitality?
yeah, we do. We just don't list it as a main play right now. So someday that might come into here. My particular background over 30 years is as a broker, and a lot of what I did was leasing. Now I've sold land, I've sold existing buildings, so I've done the investment sales. The reason I like the leasing is because it's more consistent revenue. You know, so I might have, when I was in the middle of leasing, I might have 20 lease transactions in play at any given time. So I sort of could predict my income a little better than the investment sale guy. So the investment sale guy is probably the guy or the gal that wants to hit the home run. I was really more of the singles and doubles kind of. So this is my personality. It's kind of your DNA. So in our business, and by the way, this is the service business, right? So we don't develop as owners. We work for those folks, right? So when Eric and I worked together at Codina, he was the developer slash owner. So he was coming to me saying, I need you to go find a piece of land so that we can put up, I did major in hard either, by the way, so we can put up an office building, right? And then I need you to lease it up, and then I need you to manage it, and then when we get it stabilized and the market's right, I want you to sell it, and then we're going to take those proceeds and go do it again, right? So I was on the service side, and Eric was really more of the developer. So, you know, we're throwing around this term development a lot. He's really the orchestra leader, right? He's the guy with the baton leading the orchestra, and I was really one of the musicians, right? So my job was to go find that piece of dirt and help fill it with tenants, which, by the way, when you don't fill it with tenants, it's worthless, right? It's the tenancy and the brokers who fill those buildings up that make the value, and then ultimately find the buyer and sell it and do it all over again. That's sort of the development nature. So let me paint you the picture of the perfect client that we look for. We sort of call this perfect client somebody who stays on the wheel of services that we offer. So let's start off with Eric saying, Pike, I need you to go find me a piece of land so I can build this office building on. So as a broker, we're going to go out and find the acreage and get paid a fee on the price of that dirt. And then the next thing he's going to ask for is, and by the way, since he wants to build an office building, he's really only got 2 things he wants to know from me. Is what kind of rental rate are you going to give me, and how long is that going to take to fill that building up? So we have to do the homework as our job to help him underwrite this development of this office building. So to the extent that we're making things up, which a lot of brokers are, have a tendency to do, he's going to catch me on that, because I'm going to tell him he can lease it for $25 a square foot and the market's 20, and then we sit around for 2 years after he's put the building up and there's no tenants, right? So that's the last time he'll ever use me. So brokers who are successful and are being deployed and employed over and over again are the ones who help the developer underwrite the appropriate rental rate, the appropriate time it's going to take to get the building leased, and a lot of those assumptions, right? So we've sold him the land, and now I'm going to kind of change his role, and I'm going to make him the Wayne Huizinga on the yacht in the Bahamas, right? So instead of being somebody who knows what he's doing in development, he's now a passive investor sitting on a yacht in the Bahamas, right? And I'm painting that picture for a reason, because now he's going to need me to be a project manager, which is what we do. So we're going to go hire the architect, and we're going to go hire the general contractor, and we're going to play the role of developer in the form of project manager, but it's his money, it's his butt on the line. And he's sitting on the yacht in the Bahamas, talking to me on his phone, expecting regular reports on how this thing is going. The other thing that we may do is we may play the role of asset manager. I was listening, Gloria was listening to some of her responses to a question about asset management. You know what asset manager really is? He's really walking in the shoes of the owner, making the day-to-day decisions of an owner as if the owner were not there. But he's in the Bahamas on the yacht. I'm his asset manager. He's expecting me to make day-to-day decisions, with the project manager to get this thing off the ground. So now the next obvious thing, and I'm drawing a timeline as if all these things happen in some kind of a projection, but the leasing really occurs up here. So we've got this pretty building designed, and we've got this, all the bells and whistles and these amazing packages, and we're sending those packages out to the brokerage community. And the brokers who represent the occupiers are every day knocking on the doors in downtown Miami to the tenants saying, I want to represent you. I want to take your 50,000 square feet out of this downtown building, and let's go to Sawgrass and Sunrise and put you in there for all these reasons, right? So we're building a building in Sunrise and Sawgrass, and I'm relying on these guys, even though they don't work for me, because I'm baiting them with a commission to bring that 50,000 foot tenant to our project. So the leasing really starts right here. The more I can get leased up before he breaks ground or before he tops off his building, the better his investment's going to be, right? So we're in the process of leasing. Then we end up, you're going to correct me if I miss any of these steps, right? I'm a C student.
30 years you've been trying to convince me of your value, so you're doing it.
So we've got this thing leased up now, and it's finished. And we have to hire a property manager, which is what we do as well. Guess when that starts? That also starts here. Because the owner's going to need to know what will the operating expenses be on this building. And what are they going to, taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, the utilities. So we've got to have all of that in the underwriting. And so a good property management is going to help us, with all of this as we come out with a package. Because remember, building's not out of the ground yet. I'm out there with a leasing package. My colleague is knocking on the door of the 50,000 foot tenant. He's telling that tenant, you save money by going here than sitting in downtown and paying a ridiculous rent and parking costs. Let's go to the burbs, and it's cheaper. But I've got to have an operating expense number, right, from my property management people, because the tenant really just wants to know the all-in number, right, of what the rent's going to be. So we got it full, we got it managed, and now Mr. Swanson on the yacht in the Bahamas says, Mike, I need you to sell this fully stabilized building. Now, sometimes we sell it in here because we pre-leased it. But typically, the building is up, it's running, 18, 24 months down the road, the developer all along says, when I hit my certain return number, certain stabilization number, right, then let's go ahead and sell it. And then we put a package together, and the package is 2 feet thick, has everything you'd ever want to know about the office market in South Florida, the city of Sunrise, the benefits of 595 and Sawgrass and 75, and you start when you're packaging way up here, and then you drill down to the benefits of the physical building, the tenants, and the credit, which are really the driver behind the value. Is what percentage is the building occupied, what rental rate, more importantly though, what's the credit rating of the tenants in the building, okay, and the length of those leases. So now we've sold the building, and Mr. Swanson has bought a bigger yacht and a more expensive island to live on, and he has all of this money from that sale, and he doesn't want to pay taxes on that sale. He wants to exchange into a 1031, and he now wants to be a buyer, investor, right? He's not a developer because he's not building anything. He's already built it and he's made his money. Now he wants to mitigate his tax liability and exchange into 2 office buildings, right? Double of what we built here. So then we help him structure a 1031 exchange, which I presume you all are going to be learning about. And now he has invested into 2 buildings that we're leasing or managing, or asset managing. If the buildings that he bought have vacancies and new tenants need to move in, well, guess what? The existing improvements probably don't fit the new tenants. We've got to re-improve, redevelop the interior of the buildings to fit the new tenants, right? Those are called tenant improvements. And he's sitting on a yacht. He's not going to fly over here and figure out how to play this. So I've got to be a project manager, and I've got to get the architect and the GC to build those improvements out to contour to the leasing. So you can see now where even though we're not developing all these players, then this service company, remember, we don't own anything. We're just servicing him. We're just a fee player, right? We're getting fees on everything that we do. You make me sweat, I'm going to charge you, right? Because I'm in the service business. I don't own this thing. So now he's now he's mega wealthy because of me, and only because of me. So do you see this whole wheel of service as our perfect client? Our perfect client is somebody who trusts us, who yields to our judgment and as much as possible. Now, if he were really a prudent investor, he's not going to give me a blank check as his asset manager to make any decision I want. There's usually monetary stoppages to keep me from going crazy. And again, the more I perform, then the longer the relationship. And maybe I have 10 Eric Swansons sitting on 10 yachts around the world who are doing the same thing. So that's, in a nutshell, how our service business works. And all I can tell you from me personally is I would really more of this guy here working more for this guy here, right? So I have 60 brokers, and some of them only sell, and some of them only lease, and some of them only lease for tenants. So in our business, you become a specialist. You create an identity. Your identity is wrapped around a business plan. You'll hear the adage that 10% of the people are making 90% of the money. You'll hear that over and over again, but that's really true in the brokerage business. The successful brokers, again, they're independent contractors, they're commission only, and their income goes like this. right? Up and down. But over a 5-year period, you ought to be able to look at it and see some consistency. But the successful brokers create a business plan. And the business plan memorializes their identity. It talks about what they specialize in, what they know. So I made a joke about my being non-credentialed. I made a joke about not having a college degree and not having a master's degree. If I could go back and do it over again, I would check both those boxes and make sure I got those, right? So I'm not bragging about being non-academic. I made a joke about that, but what I don't joke about are my credentials. My credentials, when I had to back a U-Haul trailer up to this building, and I had to show you all the boxes that contain all the lease documents and all the sale documents and all the listing agreements that I was able to get executed, right? Because people trusted my knowledge and they trusted my experience. So it wasn't the degree on my resume. It wasn't memorizing information and getting degrees that helped me be successful as a broker. It was actually getting into the field and transacting. And I'm going to throw a real curveball at you now because this is going to sound really ridiculous. But the #1 advice I give all new brokers who come into the business is I tell them, you have to go out and collect the biggest bag of failures that you possibly can. Because it's only then that you learn. My real credentials are all the agreements that didn't make it. I can tell you stories of working on a deal for 2 years and never made it. I didn't get a fee. Spent a zillion hours. Didn't work. Those are the ones you learn from. You don't learn from your successes. You learn from your failures. And it may not even have been my fault. But watching buyer-seller, watching tenant-landlord, and not transacting, why not? What happened that they didn't transact? Is there something that I could have done? Those are the learning experiences. Those are my credentials. My credentials are in the losses, not in the successes. So if you want to be in the brokerage business, you want to intern first, okay? You want to find a veteran broker that is willing to coach you, okay? Just because they're successful doesn't mean they're good coaches and good teachers, right? So you want to make sure that they're willing to spend the time with you and teach you, take you into every single meeting. And that's how our company does it. That's our internship. That's our apprenticeship. We call you a junior broker, and we attach you to a veteran. And we hold the veteran accountable to teaching and to coaching so that the junior catches on. But at the end of the day, you're going to be thrown into the pool and you're going to be asked to swim. And that's really where you start building your resume and building your credentials, is in the transactions that didn't make it. That's where you learn the business. And a lot of life is knowing not what not to do. Right? My daughter was an art major. She came home from school and she tried this job and didn't like it and quit. And she tried this job and didn't like it and quit. She could never find the job that was really driving her to kind of fulfill her dream. And I came home one day and she's sitting on the couch crying. She goes, I don't know why I majored in art. What a total loser major that was. I don't know what I want to do. And I said to her, I said, right now, you're in a position where you can afford to figure out what not to do. It's okay to try this and quit. It's okay to try that and quit. Sooner or later, you're going to find the vocation that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. She got a phone call from a friend who said there was an opening to be an art teacher at a local school. She took it. I said, just try it. Well, I didn't go to school to be a teacher. Try it. She tried it for 9 months. Loved it. 11 years later, it's what she's supposed to do, but she figured out what not to do first. And that was an important lesson.
I have a question. I'm a real estate agent, and that's how I entered in this role. I started that a year and a half ago. I had a biology major, and I wanted to do something totally different of what I'm doing now. I couldn't continue because of different challenges that were presented in my life. So after a year and a half being a real estate agent, I'm on the residential side, which is what you said is totally different with commercial. It's another world. I entered in this program because I wanted to have more knowledge of what all the different things could do, and I realized here you can do from A to C. I mean, you can do from leasing, sales, finance, you name it.
Yeah, and just in my little world, look at all the things you can do.
Exactly. So, as a real estate agent, I always have this role like a broker. You know, you're a broker. I'm a sales associate, and I think I can take next year my broker license. But when you said, you know, you're a broker, I mean, is that any other another type of license? That
Yeah,
you
so
take? Or it's just a
don't be
name?
confused, it's a profession. So don't be confused
Okay.
about the state of Florida has a broker's license and a salesman's license, right? The broker's license enables you to hire salesmen and have a salesman's license, but the terminology is different.
Okay.
Brokering basically means you're not an owner, you're putting people together to transact as a non-interested party. And of course, we have to have a license in Florida, and I am a broker in Florida, and I have salespeople under me. But the terminology is definitely different.
So what would you say your DNA is about? Is it you're a
Me
people?
personally?
Yeah, you're a people
Yeah.
person, negotiating person?
So I laugh about running a $25 million budget. I have really smart people that work for me. I have a CPA that is my CFO that figures out the numbers, right? Just imagine 150 people at 7 offices in the state of Florida, and we manage 12 million square feet of property. Just think about all the rent income that comes into our office. And those checks have to be accounted for, and expenses have to be accounted for. Just think of all the brokers. The brokerage revenue is about $20 million, right? So I've got 60 brokers generating $20 million in fees. Well, who's going to account for all the fee revenue that's coming in? Who's going to make sure those guys get paid on, those guys and gals get paid on time? It's a lot of money coming in and out, right? Those are details. I couldn't even balance a $200 checking account in college, right? So I have to hire somebody really smart who loves numbers. You can give me a report, and I can figure out from a high level what all that means, right? And I can manage people according to that. Just don't make me account for it and be the detail guy that enters the numbers. That's my DNA.
So you did management.
So I would prefer to sit in front of him. I'd prefer to fly over to Nassau and get on his boat and sit in front of him and say, Eric, you can choose between 6 different companies that can do all the things that you want to do. I have to convince him to hire me and my company and the people that I'm going to be held accountable for. So I've got to influence him. I don't like to use the word selling. That's cheap. You sell copiers and you sell cars, but you don't sell commercial real estate. You influence people on making decisions that are in their best interest. If I'm not his advocate, every step of the way that he's investing millions of dollars in my judgment, in my sense of being able to manage all of this, right? I have to be his advocate. And a lot of people ask me, what was the best deal that you ever did in 30 years? The best transaction that just made you the happiest when you walked out of the room? It's honest truth. It's the deal I didn't do. It's the deal that I worked on for 6 months. My client was from Boston. We're sitting in a conference room, and it's make or break time. And it's make or break time based on my advocacy to this client. And I told the client, let's get up and leave the room and walk away from this deal. The deal is no longer a good one for you. And we went out into the hallway, and he said, I know how much money you could have made on that transaction if you convinced me to stay and sign up. And I have that guy for life because I did the right thing. I was his advocate first. The bad rap on brokers is they represent their wallet. They represent the fee. They represent the win so they can get paid, not what's in best interest of the client that's actually paying. You represent people. You're an advocate. I want to do 100 deals with him, not just one and done. That's our advocacy.
Mike, you mentioned that's definitely a key of your success, but the other ones that I wanted you to share with us is what other added values have you put on Eric's pocket to keep him happy and then also diversify his business to make him more.
Well, he has no friends, so just being his friend was
No,
I mean, again, I talked about the CPA, the CFO, right? I hired really smart people. He's expecting me to put really good people with debt on his project. And unless I do that, unless I be that orchestra leader for all of this, I'm fired. And every contract I sign, by the way, of all this stuff, almost every single contract has a 30-day kickout. And it says very clearly, if you're not satisfied with the level of service that we give, you're fired. So we're standing on a trap door every time we sweat. And so that's pressure on us to perform and to do well. That's his leverage on me. Fire me if you don't like it. Okay, thanks you guys.
By the way, I don't have a boat. I think one of the things that's interesting about the services wheel is really a differentiation between some of the careers or the jobs that you can have within real estate. It's really, it covers the wheel, but the differentiating factor is the risk. Where is the risk? In the brokerage case, their risk is at each step of the way, and that's that they're not going to get paid. You know, so they can get paid a lot of money, or they get paid no money. It's all or nothing. And the risk that this investor, the guy or gal in the Bahamas, is a very financial risk. I mean, they're the one putting in the millions for the land and the financing and the land, so they risk losing that based upon their risk of hiring the right people to be their advocates. And so it's kind of an interesting, you start thinking about it, you think about the classwork that you do over the next year, the things that you learn. What Pike is talking about in the DNA is really critical to understand about yourself. Where do you think you're comfortable with that risk? You know, and it's interesting. Not only can I not spell entrepreneur, but I grew up in the Midwest, and my dad worked for a large company, and my mom worked for the church, and it never ever occurred to me that I could work for myself. Never did, ever. Nor did it occur to my wife. And then you kind of wake up one day and go, man, there's no way I can risk my salary today because I got 2 kids and I got to pay for all these things. I can't do that. And so it's an interesting thing, and so I love the analysis. I love as you go through it, you're going to learn the pieces that you're going to learn through your classwork are going to be the same regardless of where you end up on the wheel and where you end up on the risk. But understanding those things is critical, because what Mike said is so very important. The brokerage business, that general business, the good ones, the ones that know what they're talking about, know where the rates are, know where the lease rates are, know where the ones that work for the wallet, you very quickly realize who those people are. They don't last. I mean, they may hit a big deal, and so they're the ones in the Bahamas then. Okay, they may hit the one, but consistently you know who the good ones are, and only the good ones last. So it's great, and I think we still have the CCIM opportunity within Dover, right? Boy, take advantage of that.
Yeah, I highly recommend that.
That's a tremendous coursework. It's a great, no matter what you end up doing, take it while you can here. You can do it. So, a little less than a year ago, as we began to develop the things that we were doing within Odrush, I needed some help to try to work on the things that we were working on and to try to bring some of the work to a conclusion. And so had frankly a lot of opportunities, and then I found a young lady who was aggressive. She ran up and met me at every event that I was ever at, and I kept looking and saying, "Who are you again? What is your name?" But after a while she became very familiar to me, and I realized that she was somebody that had desire to be in the business and was focused on getting a job and pouring her life's blood out for what we were trying to do. And so hired her and haven't looked back. She's been terrific. So Nicola, why don't you talk a little bit about how you got into the program, why, and what you're doing right now.
Okay.
And why you love working for me.
It's funny, I was actually telling Pike when we were walking in that I've only been with Odebrecht for maybe 10 months, and it already feels like 5 years. Working with Eric has been absolutely amazing. We have one of our board members, I think his name is Jesse Holzhauser, and he's been to do one of the speaker series like more than once actually. And one of the things he repeated over and over again was, find a company that will pay you to learn. Find an opportunity that will pay you to do that every day, and that's what I've done. It's been an amazing opportunity. I've learned a lot. I noticed a lot of people nodded when Eric asked about knowing about ULI, who are actually members of ULI. I haven't seen any of you at any of the events though.
We saw you. We saw you.
Yeah, I met like 5 of you, but I didn't realize there were that many of you. But one of the things that I learned going through the program and trying to find a job and trying to figure out where I would land, because I'm still figuring it out, and that's one of the best parts, is I'm still figuring out exactly what I want to do, but I'm in an opportunity that's teaching me a lot every day and allowing me to figure out exactly where I want to end up. But one of the things that was reiterated over and over again by every speaker that came is the industry is very small. Whatever you do, don't piss anybody off. That's why Eric has the relationships that he has, and he's had them for 25, 30 years, because everybody knows everybody. So whenever you try to make a relationship, try to make something that lasts. Has everybody been given a mentor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you who do have mentors, have you met with your mentors?
Yes.
More than once?
Yes.
That's one person saying yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I tried to do as much as I could. Every opportunity that I was given, whenever I sat down with him, I was always setting up the next meeting. Because these are the things that matter. At the end of the day, these are the people that we're learning from. Yes, we learn a lot from the actual classes, but the people who've actually been in the industry and have been working are the people that we learn the most from.
Who's
So,
your mentor?
Tony Trello was my mentor. Who has Tony now? I think like
She's
3
not
people
here.
have him.
Happy.
No? Okay. Yeah, Tony is highly sought after, and he's an amazing mentor. Who's your mentee?
Tula. She's not here.
Oh,
In
she's
different
not
class,
here.
in different class.
Yeah.
But that's one of
She
the,
should be mentoring me, I think.
so that's one of the things that I find that people didn't really take advantage of during my cohort, and that's one of the things that I encourage you to take advantage of. Get involved with your mentors. Your mentors need to know who you are and know exactly what your goals are, because they can help to guide you and help to structure what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your career, and also the different organizations that you're a part of. I think one of the first times I met Eric, and I was telling it to some of the students here that I met at the ULI Vision Awards, one of the first times I met Eric, I was actually looking for Tony. Eric was hosting the ULI Vision Awards, and I was looking for Tony to, just go check on him, say hi, see how everything was going. And the following year, I was actually, and this was amazing for me, I was actually able to sit at the same table with Eric and leaders of my company. These are the opportunities that present themselves. Dr. Forgy pays for a lot of these things. I actually went to that one for free. He sent out an email, first 7 people to respond, you get a seat at the table. I was the first person to respond. These are opportunities that are free. The ULI, NAOP, they're not necessarily free, but you can get them for the student rate. Do them while you can, and get involved with those different organizations. And it will also help you figure out where it is that you want to go. One of the things that I also did was, every speaker that came, I went over their resume so I know exactly who they were. I took copious notes so that when they were done, I sent an email to everybody. I didn't care whose mentor they were. Everybody knew who I was. And that's something that I encourage you all to do. And that's pretty much it. I don't have as many interesting stories. I'm still very, very young, so I'm still learning a lot. I'm still learning a lot, but I'm open to answering any of your questions.
So what do you do exactly for?
Odebrecht? Well, I'm a development associate with Odebrecht, and what that means is we work on putting together all the small pieces that make the project possible. Everything before you put a shovel in the ground.
Did you when you started, in that position, did you know exactly what you're gonna do, or you just started fresh, not knowing, or just?
No, you use the knowledge that you gain here as a base, but Eric's an amazing mentor, and if you say I don't know, he's more than willing to help. But that's what you have to be, you have to have the base, obviously, but you have to be open and willing to learn. And say when you don't know, don't guess, say when you don't know.
Can I just say something about
Sure.
this? In my business, a lot of folks are trying to figure out how do they get an entry into our business. And the two paths that are not taken, and I think they should be, is research, right? So every service company needs research. And learning the research and how to be a researcher, even if it, end up doing it for a year, even if it's not in your DNA. But from that point on, knowing the market, right, is really a leg up in our business. And the other is kind of an unconventional path, and that is if you have bills that you need to pay and you need a real salary, we will sometimes tell people to take a marketing coordinator position. So a marketing coordinator is what I call a broker in the air conditioning. So you're behind the computer most of the day and you're creating packages and presentation pieces for the broker. And at some point, you definitely want to get a license and you want to get a percentage of every transaction. So tell your employer, don't give me a bonus, I'll take, a percentage of the brokers. So I'm on the broker's team and I go to every presentation. So now I'm getting paid, I'm in the air conditioning, I'm packaging, I get all the pieces of the presentation, but now I get to be in front of the client with the broker and say, I'm part of the team. And then a year or two down the road, I'm ready to now be an independent contractor and be a real broker. And that's just one of the ways you can get into our business.
Sure, go ahead.
What did you do prior?
I actually have a hospitality degree. And then I worked in brokerage for a short time.
From where? Hospitality from where?
Southern New Hampshire University.
You briefly went over this, like, do not piss people up, because it's a
Do not do
small.
what?
Do not piss people up, like, don't
Yes.
create enemies, because it's such a small industry.
Yes.
In my industry, as a GC, we always run into clients that don't want to pay. It's all sorts of things, so you kind of have to pick and choose who not to piss up, but at the same time.
There's always another way as against pissing someone off. There's always another way to say it first. That's the very last resort.
So Eric and I used to work for our mentor, Armando Godina, and he had a very famous saying. He said, learn how to disagree without being disagreeable. A quiet voice crushes bones. Anybody know where that comes from, right? The poise, it's all about how you respond to people not paying you.
But, the not paying is a big thing. And so while you may not be best friends with that person that doesn't pay you, but understand why they didn't pay you if you can. Try to use that to work to your advantage at some point in time. And if they're just being jerks, then make sure your friends know that they're just being jerks about it, because then at least you can use that relationship or lack of a relationship or your understanding to help your other relationships. So I don't know how to say it any differently, but you be loyal to yourself. I couldn't agree more with Pike, and our mentor was exactly that. He disagreed with many of us many times, but he was never disagreed. And so then he did what he wanted. And the man is revered within really the United States, not just South Florida, for that reason. But he's had plenty of opportunity to upset people. But his friends are also very valued. I know if I'm going to go to work for somebody I don't know, and I want to know what kind of character that person is. I want to know, is that somebody that I want to be associated with? I know I'd call Armando, because he's probably run into him before, and he'll say, Eric, stay away from that guy. Okay, and that's a valuable piece of advice from friends. And what's the NAR rule? Do you still have the NAR rule in your?
It's really inappropriate to make me respond to that.
These are adults here.
Our company has a published NAR rule that you cannot work for us if you cannot comply with the NAR rule, and that's called the no asshole rule. If you behave poorly on a chronic basis, you will become known. And there are many brokers in South Florida that are very financially successful and we never hire because they don't comply. So just because you're financially successful doesn't mean you're successful and somebody that you want to be your advocate. Because at the end of the day, all we really are is advocates. That's all we really are. And it's just important to have good reputation.
So kind of to what you're saying, I'm an agent and someone had called me 2 days ago and they said, hey, let's develop this lot. I would like you to buy the lot. I'll do the development, get all this stuff done. So I asked a couple people in the office and said, hey, and if you know this person, you know, I've worked with their father before in a transaction. And it's a decent name around town. And 3 out of the 4 people said, stay away. I called my attorney to look over the operating agreement. And she said, who's it with? I said the name. She goes, no, stay away. I said, cool.
Yeah, stay away. You know, I call that the RA rule, right? How many of you have ever seen the movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Anybody? Nobody's seen that movie? Remember when they were in the heat of battle? What did the leader say? Run away! Run away! I call that the RA rule.
You can go back and do it again. Your degree, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently?
Or what'd you do?
What would I do different? I had a really great experience. I was one of the, actually no, our cohort was pretty lucky. We had a really amazing experience. I enjoyed a lot of it. Dr. Forgy gave us opportunities for internship. I did an internship at the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. I met a lot of people through that, and if you guys get that opportunity, Alyssa actually works with JLL doing research, and she got an internship with JLL through the program. So, sorry, I had a really good experience. Professor San Miguel's classes were rough. Frederick, how you doing?
Well, I'm done with him.
I don't have those problems.
Those were my roughest classes. I remember there was one towards the end of the semester. I was like, all I have to do is get 76 on this test and I get an A. He's like, no, that's not possible. Only one person's getting an A. And I'm like, no, I've done the math. All I have to do is get 76. I got like 74.95 or something.
Oh, I remember this.
So, you remember that, right?
I remember this.
It was horrible. But to his credit, I think of all the courses that I did, because he gave me such a hard time on everything. I actually, yes, and I actually got a lot out of his classes. So if he rides you, take it as a compliment.
You still reading the Wall Street Journal?
I'm sorry?
Are you still reading the Wall Street Journal?
Yes, I actually still have the app on my phone. I read every day. Yes, it's mandatory. Anything else? Anything else? There's a way around those, by the way. But
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, obviously, Kyle's went to retrieve the food, so hopefully that'll be here in a couple minutes. But other than that, we will start back around 12:30.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to grab forks and napkins too.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to grab? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, thank you so much.
Anytime. You got my contact?
I can do it. Oh, here, let me just give you.
Oh, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. What's that? I'm one of those who not just eat the meat, but I break it down. Nice sugar. Thank you. I want a lot of this.
How are you? Good. I always see you on the ULI event.
I do, I like
There was three
You'll hear about it, bro.
Rough getting in here last night. I've been calling for like even if 1:30 just my
Okay. Tell you what, man, talk about backbreaking.
I guess it's but what kind of soup is it? I don't know, I asked them for chicken soup, but I don't know what kind of soup I got. I know I put it at the bottom, but they have a they said, what kind of soup? And I said, what kind of soup? Then who's that one? But I don't know what to do. I might have missed the classes. She ordered one. She ordered one. But what kind of soup is it? You know?
How's everything going? I knew it was one big man.
I chose it.
What, is there a lot of
See what he's doing there.
You know,
Drill the numbers. He's doing that. I chose that. And what he's doing is
that's great. How's that going?
I'll take the lower hanging fruit, build my and I do small projects, and one of the things I do, I'll self-finance.
The similarities is that you only need one license to do this.
And I've gone on to build relationships with AT&T and other sorts, and so when the speakers come in.
So if I want to get like put it down the market, like what's the best way to go partner up with you guys or?
So I never come to me.
Did they put the initials on it?
I met from his team, I met the young lady.
Oh yeah, no, they have it on the sandwiches.
Because he doesn't know how to do it together, so I gave a second opinion on all three. I came for the contact.
So they have mentally better. But usually I'll go over.
Oh, I'm listening to these guys, man. It's inspiring. Yeah, it
What's later?
You get detective, you get all the
It's always
So now they take their own weekends. Oh yeah, I'm on it. I stopped doing it. You see, I'm like,
You're one of those people that in the room
I was
next to you.
Thank
How you dress today?
you. Money question. I'm not going to do you. Absolutely, the money. Yeah, true. No, I mean, it comes with experience. But as you go through the grass, dynamite, girl.
You know that thing's still recording, right?
Oh yeah, it's always live. Don't worry.
That, me and Robert got caught by that thing. So
Yeah, I know.
Robert's fine. But no, Robert, I used to sit next to him.
We killed man one day.
How long have
You like broccoli cheddar? Oh, sorry, I was gonna offer you that soup because I'm not gonna eat it. I can't eat broccoli. All right, never mind.
Oh, you did that?
Cash works.
Oh, stop. I'm not right.
And the reason is, I know
Alex is the other guy. But we came in together at the same time. So everybody was, we're always so anyways, chat. So I have a project that I'm working on that may have some questions. So let's be able to call you. Well, I'm okay. I know it's throws them.
See, I didn't know they actually had
Yeah, there's
I'm sorry.
How about you?
The volleys are doing great, man.
That's good.
Oh, yes.
yeah, this one's one
This might be yours.
Thank you. No, but you're supposed to change it.
So those little drills saying again what you do with us.
Schedule deals with the construction schedule. I mean, your timeline schedule.
Which one? That one? Yeah. He was telling me to look at it because that's where I guess there's very excited to look for 98, so I'm looking at that. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
No, I'm thinking like working on this money. You don't need
The whole year.
and you're working out there that person that's
Oh, they do. They have like everything. Yeah. What do you do? Do you do stuff? What's it called? Where they at? What kind of stuff do they develop? Oh, yeah. So high right there. Yeah. I know that company.
All your Palm Beach status? Is it wrong? You didn't know about that?
Oh, so when you go into
Yeah.
do you
My
want to stay
brother
with
in his
them?
office used to actually be the president of the board.
What do you mean?
So what they say,
Not sharing information.
they're not crossing nothing. Everybody's independent.
Oh, so they
So Fort Lauderdale, Greater Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach are probably. Yeah, you I'll tell you when I was with
Greater Fort Lauderdale.
That's what I have.
when I started in Florida, I was with I got a lot more international
Changes the numbers for you.
buyers.
If you're on the
The seller was the same as I was. Got a lot more international buyers. But I think that's because of the time. Came back down again. And it's so much easier. Like you got issues. Oh, I don't know where you live, but go to one of the locations. And the information sharing is way better.
What about in Miami? What happened in Miami?
They are not sharing information with Palm Beach and Palm Beach. So like you'll see things active on the MLS and
Yes.
and it'll be just so here.
Yep.
So, but this always
Because it
happens.
doesn't transfer.
I know.
And I do a lot of stuff.
So mad.
But I have some stuff in Miami, in Broward, but I still.
But Miami and Broward don't share. If you join Miami now, you'll probably lose Palm Beach. But Broward and Miami are sharing.
So I'm not gonna share with Palm Beach or what?
She's finicky.
Do you think that's why it's more money? Do you think that's why it's more money? Honestly, Broward?
And then this class is how online market analysis.
Oh, man, I know. See, I don't have these problems, but I do. You know,
Right. Are you taking the hardest one? Did you do it this journey the assignment that's due this week? It's kind of confusing. I mean, it's a little.
So basically, Broward is better for you to see
That whole software.
Miami for sure.
Well, no.
There's so much stuff you can do on it that like.
They don't
You have to really
they don't update things.
I didn't know you were able to share ours.
Are you pretty good with Argus? Or are you? I feel like it's the platforms.
But what
I use it on occasion, but it's not like.
I started with
Stick with it. Yeah.
it was like four something.
What about
They was trying to give you a discount.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, they never
Greater Fort Lauderdale to come to them. So if you require something, but you keep it around.
hire people like him to do the data.
But they give me like
One guy
$100 if you pay early, so I get this at 99.
You have an entire career of being an artist.
Yeah.
Why did you get a badge?
But I got 5,000. 3% that was affordable.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah, and I got 5,000.
Yeah, I used to use it.
Usually so good. I love Fusion. I never used
Better
to know
for
the one.
web-based better, man. Some of those, that's the down about.
Matrix is good for when you're sending your people on.
Closing costs is the difference.
Like, you know what? I realized that I don't need to log these and
So you can be logged in.
I haven't touched it yet, but it's the same one I get every day.
I just have notification. Not till the 22nd. Did you took all of Samuel's classes?
With my commission, my
Capital markets? I hate to work presentation.
Oh, did he? I was to warn you guys. Don't worry, man. He does it to everybody.
He did it to me. He did it to me once. I had
For sure.
I know, because I was.
Yeah.
That's what I told him, but I was like, if I spend 3 weeks putting this together, I'm gonna back up what I feel like was like my research, I'm like,
At the end of the day, man, he respects you more for it. He's just doing it now. It's kind of like, everybody. He'll go away and work. And then you'll see after this, he'll start asking you stuff that you probably should know before you come to class. And he's going to start picking on you like that. Man, what do you think about this? You finished all your classes? Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Why cover?
Yeah, man, we talking about
What I'm doing right now
Like, let him know who I was. Always asking questions.
Yeah, you put up plus 66.
yeah, 9 hours, like, He let us take our picture.
You are.
happy friends.
I know. We got to 12:30.
I mean, I was so hard. I know. That's why my question is that's what I'm going to do.
Here's a
Be
note
online
for
and
them.
say, like, if I saw
My name is
what
Carol.
it is, blah, 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 I couldn't write exactly what it was. I had to put it into, like, my own experience. For example, blah, blah, blah. And then put, like, my own scenario.
Yeah.
That is
And he knows he's giving you these questions. So
He just wanted us to do our own fix. He wanted us to use our own way of explaining it.
Section 8, but I was section 8.
And then that's my work phone with me. Okay, thank you so much.
Now that I know where you're coming
And then it was still cited, yeah. Yeah, we're the same guy.
I'll be out of here at 5, so. Well, I know I can deal with a baby and
Call him. Card.
I wish I had a calculation.
That's right.
Why are you like, oh, I don't know?
Just like, you have it. I'm just have a plan that I don't put my own. I'm like, that's all. Most of these places, they don't have research.
I mean, I don't know how long they call that for.
Yeah, I'll be down.
Maria, whenever nice to meet you.
How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up?
Chilling, man. Another day in paradise. Right.
Outstanding. Yep. He actually just left like 10 minutes ago. Yeah. This was probably right around 4:30, and then
Yeah, I think he texted me too, and I was like, I think, yeah, actually, like,
okay.
I don't know, I was just like,
You guys look like serious.
no, yeah, if I like needed, like,
Great week. Paul, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You guys have been here at the school for a while, or? Oh, this is a terrific graduate school.
no, but it's not your fault.
Morning. Morning.
He drives down to a house down and makes me to come with me.
Yeah, that's because before, like last week.
It's all like, yeah, it's all the grades on my life. I bet you can get it.
Yeah, the guy travels on the
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's like,
Just this on me. I'm just taking this. I had to slow down. Some personal stuff. And I got really ill. So I'm going to do this in like a second. You're doing August. Everything but capital. Yeah, I was going to go that route, and then I had to trim back a little more. I really want to. I mean, I'm so big on the line. When I get into that, I want to speak like Microsoft. That's where I fall short. Okay. I got actually working attachments that are going right into modeling. That's my, and I haven't had any experience on Argus yet. I'm no excited anymore. They were like, well, let me see your models that you worked with in the past, where you come from. Everyone else had their models. Oh, this is how we did it. They're like, oh, I like that. It's kind of proprietary. I'm loving it though. The more I can suck all this up, I'm no rush. I feel like a year is rushing. I think a year is rushing. I mean, if you have, today's the some of us have different responsibilities. That comes from, priorities.
The second speaker was talking about making site Eric and his panel. Everything from ice structures.
You started up with you're on that now? Yeah.
Services.
Yeah. How'd you go on the first test? I think I got a 9. But We have 2 already, yeah. And there's one that's due. Oh no, we've had 3. No? Oh no, we've had 2. We've had 2. You're right. The next one isn't due to like November 27th or something. And this time it's due the same day. That's what he said. We haven't had any sign yet. That's the first one. The intro. That's just in the discussion board. The discussion board is worth like 5% of our whole. Yeah,
That's where the message
it's due like it's like a very small.
But there are, obviously many more.
Yeah, I'm done.
That's the thing, and like I just graduated MSU, and I try to take at least like online classes as possible because it's so easy just to like forget about I have another class.
Yeah, I printed it out.
You know what I do? I take this assignment, I take a bullet and I just put it in my calendar, so it's there. So I know what
I wanted to ask you a question.
No, that was the 22nd of the next one.
It's up to you. It's up to you. I mean, you don't want to stand and walk around. Sit down. I mean, it's obviously whatever you're comfortable with. Use the whiteboard.
I mean, the one.
Actually, no, there's I don't know who Jack is. If you go to Texas, I haven't
Yeah. What you got? Looking over to get back.
Who are we missing? Anyone else?
How did you create
I took screenshots.
No, I got it on PDF. I got it on PDF. But, oh, you know what I did? First of all, I saved it to the PDF and then printed from PDF. I saved it to PDF.
Yeah, but see, when you do it that way, it's all over the place.
No, look at mine. Yeah, but that's That's all PDF. I saved it first and then printed from file. No, go to up top, it shows files. Yeah. And then use the same file to print after.
So far, so good. I mean, it's actually better than but in terms of like, in your office or car, some yeah. and see
Like, you know,
what,
like people know.
and then just send it voicemail. Other than that, you know, I don't want to use a lot of the
Loads of functions and
Since you went to your call for that,
Getting back to the city because like I have a friend that she's getting into college. But yeah, she's like, I'm going to Bogota, Salt Parks.
He's like, let's get it right.
That's because he knows where it is.
Every single it's like a master of science. It's like master of science.
7. That many people because of all Wow, it's almost like you and your neighbor can share a car because maybe we can. Let's all share a car.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I think most everybody's finished with their lunch, hopefully. We've got everybody coming back in. Missing too many people. Is Andre here?
Yeah, he just stepped up.
Okay. And who else are we missing up here? That's Janae. Okay. Okay, so most everybody's back. Okay. All right, so this afternoon, to start us off, Quake Wiener is going to talk to us about his varied career in real estate and a handful of other things. He's been here in South Florida, I think, since the late 70s, early 80s, and has done a number of projects over the years, and I've had a chance to meet with him one-on-one just once to kind of talk about his background and some fascinating situations that he's been affiliated with. So I think you're going to really enjoy what he has to offer this afternoon. So give him a warm welcome and we'll get started.
Before I get started, I'd like to just very briefly say a couple things. First of all, I'm extremely impressed at this particular university to be providing a program like this. I can tell you that at most business schools, they very seldomly have an opportunity to really have hands-on participation with somebody like myself or the folks that you were with this morning. You're going to get real-world experience today. This is not books. You can take the books and throw them in the garbage from my perspective. I never had books. I never got a master's degree. In fact, I had to finish my bachelor's degree at night while I worked as a bellboy in a hotel, carrying bags. And back then you weren't allowed to push carts. You had to actually carry the bags. So I want you to have some real world hands-on experience here, and I really compliment your professor for arranging this. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm glad to see that all of you are on time. You'll notice that I came in about 10 minutes early, and that's something that's very important if you're going to achieve any success in your life. Nobody wants people that show up late for appointments. Today I want to discuss entrepreneurs first in general, not only about real estate. There are a number of industries in which
which entrepreneurs have had enormous success, other than real estate. For example, take Facebook, take Amazon, Jeff Bezos at Amazon. Take Microsoft or Apple Computers. Those guys started in their garages, developing one of the first computers. Tesla, you know about the electric cars. A guy named Elon Musk. Take medicine and pharmaceutical entrepreneurs that have been extremely and highly successful. The other thing I ask, by the way, is for people not to use their computers and stuff, if you don't mind, while I'm talking, only because it's a little distracting for me as a speaker. I tend to think that you're actually doing something other than what I spent time to prepare to come here for you for. So I appreciate that. But they all had one thing in common, and that's this. They found a need for something. Keep that word in your mind. They found a need. And when they found a need, they also had a burning hunger for success in their stomachs. To be an entrepreneur in any field, I don't care what field it is, if you're looking for lifestyle, if you're looking for 9 to 5 and have weekends off, please do yourself a favor. Don't think of being an entrepreneur. If you don't have that 24-hour-a-day burning hunger in your stomach, that you're available at 2 o'clock in the morning if a problem comes up, don't be an entrepreneur, you will lose your money. Entrepreneurs are a different breed of people. They are risk takers, and they have that constant burning need in their stomach. As I mentioned a moment ago, the entrepreneurs that started these companies like Apple and Microsoft, etc., and Facebook, they found a need that didn't exist. And they solved that need, and they have become extremely wealthy as a result. But you know, you can find a need, but not necessarily have the ability to make that need come to fruition. You know, you could say, oh, wouldn't this be a fantastic idea? Well, if it is such a fantastic idea, find a way to make it happen. And that's what a real entrepreneur does. Because believe me, if there isn't a need and it's just an idea, you're not going to be successful with it. So take that to the bank. There are basically 2 types of entrepreneurs. One type I'm going to call the rich guy. The rich guy is somebody, let's say like a Donald Trump, who started with family money. The ones that start with family money with $1 million in the bank, start their businesses. If they make a mistake, big deal, they lose 100,000, still got 900 more of them to make more mistakes. But then again, you have the entrepreneur that's the poor guy. You're looking at one of them right now. This is one of the poor guys. We moved here from Canada in 1977 because there was political trouble in Montreal and in the province of Quebec. And we had 2 kids in the back seat of a used Ford Granada car. None of you probably even know what a Ford Granada is. But that's, okay, so that's, you know what that is. We came down from Canada with that, with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I thought that I had a job arranged when I got to Florida. And we got to Florida, and believe me, we had very little money in the bank, if any. And I called up the guy and I said, guess what, we're here. And he said, well, we've actually changed our mind. We don't have the opening after all. So here I am in Florida now with 2 kids, this beat up car, looking for a place to live, couldn't afford to send the kids to school. So my wife became a school teacher and then got the kids into the school. And that's how we basically started. So I wanted to give you that little background. Everybody in life wants to be successful. I haven't found one person who said to me, I don't really want to be successful. I'd rather just be a flunky and not be successful. I don't know anybody. Anybody here want to be a failure? Of course not. Nobody's going to raise their hand.